Nadir Hashemi. He's with the University of Denver Center for Middle East Studies. And thank you very much. We've been calling this, a catastrophe upon a catastrophe. Tell me a little bit about how Lebanon is equipped to deal with this, or ill-equipped given the circumstances.
Very ill-equipped. Prior to the explosion, Lebanon had moved from a situation of decline to free fall. The economy had effectively collapsed. The currency was worthless. There was massive unemployment. 50% of the population was living below the poverty line. Lebanon was facing a refugee crisis, refugees from Syria, a deeper, longer-standing Palestinian refugee crisis, and then, of course, you had a corrupt ruling political class that really is responsible for the economic collapse of the country. So, on top of all of these problems, you have this explosion that takes place that devastates downtown Beirut, has led to massive amounts of death and injuries. They're still pulling people out of the rubble. So this is sort of a confluence, sort of a perfect storm of the worst set of circumstances that most likely will break the country.
And this is a country that is going to have to rely upon international help, one would think. I mean, Lebanon announced 100 billion pounds will be made available to help with this explosion recovery, but yet that 100 billion pounds isn't worth much right now.
It's not worth much, and what's also not worth very much are the pronouncements and statements from, the Lebanese government, which is monumentally corrupt, largely responsible for the economic and political crisis, and particularly for this crisis, because the big question now is, why was vast amounts, close to 3,000 tons of ammonium nitrate stored in downtown Beirut? It was a, tragedy waiting to happen. And, the people responsible for making that decision or not solving this problem a lot earlier are precisely the Lebanese ruling class that are going to face demands for accountability from the citizens of Lebanon very soon.
Yeah, we're hearing a little bit about some of the warnings over the past couple of years coming from Lebanese customs people saying, this stuff shouldn't be stored here. But that said, let me ask you about the quality of life for people in Beirut right now, because we're hearing about multiple hospitals that are completely out of commission because of the destruction.
Right. But before the destruction, before the bomb blast, the explosion yesterday, Lebanon's health system was stretched to its limits because of the coronavirus crisis, which was, starting to peak in Lebanon. As I mentioned before, roughly half of the country lives below the poverty line. People can't afford to go to private hospitals. And now you have hospitals that have been, destroyed as a result of the explosion yesterday. So this is a confluence of sort of the worst set of circumstances that is going to affect hundreds of thousands of people. And I think that's very much where the international community needs to focus its attention on providing the type of health aid, field hospitals. I imagine is probably a top priority, but also basic food supplies, because the port area that was blown apart was the main storage facility for the country's grain, and several flour mills in the same vicinity were also destroyed. So these are some of the priorities that the people of Lebanon are facing at this moment.
Nadir Hashemi, thank you very much for joining us to talk more about this. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.